Well, the feckless United Nations has voted against Israel and voted for a ceasefire with no accountability for Hamas. And recently, our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was greeted, and I say that charitably, by a pro-Hamas group of individuals who decided to do a die-in at his hotel in Vancouver. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Brian Lilley and Warren Kinsella. There's a growing list, Warren, of incidences happening across this country, around North America. And you and both Brian have written about it extensively. You even went so far as to put out a 10-point plan, how to shut this stuff down. But after this UN vote that did not hold Hamas accountable, did not, they demanded that the hostages be released. It's more knocks against Israel. But then we see this thing happen with the Prime Minister in Vancouver. I'm very surprised that this is still going on without any arrests.
Yeah, and there's a lesson here for Trudeau if he pays attention, is like, so you do your ceasefire vote, which is disgusting because there already was a ceasefire. It was broken by Hamas on October 7th. But leaving that to one side, I presume Justin, because he's worried about Liberal Party donors leaving the Laurier Club, decides he's going to, vote for a ceasefire, basically completely reversing himself from what he said previously. Well, what does it get him? It gets, Team Hamas screaming at him and calling him a murderer and accusing him of genocide from Ottawa to Vancouver. The thing that I would say to these people in the highly unlikely event that I ever advise them is the blocking of highways, throwing paint on bookstores, threatening Jewish businesses, firebombing Jewish community centers, shooting up Jewish schools. Guess what? It's having an effect on public opinion. And public opinion, even if they had misgivings about Netanyahu and the IDF's military strategy, they are 100% just about behind Israel. And so all of this crap that is happening from one end of the country to the other, like Team Hamas, you're losing support. Yeah. That may not matter to you, but believe me, it is going to matter to you pretty soon.
I want to talk a little bit more about sort of the germination of this vote, Brian. Just days before, we saw what we've all dubbed is perhaps Canada's worst foreign affairs minister, Mélanie Joly, meeting on the Hill with a number of Muslim organizations in the middle of Hanukkah. No Jewish representation there, and then they have the vote, and then Canada's ambassador Bob Rae posts on X, "We'll be explaining the vote shortly." Well, there's a saying, if you're explaining, you're losing. So I'm wondering, just the political calculus on that.
I think is what Warren just mentioned, losing several hundred high-level donors to the Laurier Club and relentless lobbying. Look, both sides in Canada are lobbying respective politicians on this. But, you said at the beginning this was a pro-Hamas group that met Trudeau in Vancouver. It was. If you watch the video, as they're screaming intifada and revolution, they're not calling for a ceasefire. They're not calling for peace between both sides. They're calling for an ongoing, sustained revolution against Israel, and that all the land from the river to the sea go to the Palestinians, who right now are governed by Hamas, a terrorist group. So that's who Trudeau was giving into, was that group. They're the ones who think they won. They're the ones who feel emboldened. It's pretty shameful. And I was shocked when I heard that Canada voted this way. I thought, well, surely Bob Rae wasn't in the seat. I was busy with other things that day and caught up with it later. And I thought Bob Rae couldn't have cast that vote. It must have been a wayward diplomat who went in and voted with their own feelings. No, it was Bob Rae, as you say, explaining it. And then he's caught on a hot mic afterwards saying, well, we'll see how that flies. He tried to claim afterwards in an interview with News Talk 1010, oh, that wasn't really anything. No, he knew that vote was going to cause problems. By the way, speaking to Liberals about how that went, real divide in their caucus, a real effort by some, including people who've gone public like Marco Mendicino and Anthony Housefather, to try and mitigate what Canada had to change the vote. And what I'm told is they were able to change some of the wording that Canada put forward, but not change the vote.
Yeah, Warren, we saw stalwart of the Liberal Party, Irwin Cotler, respected on all sides of the political aisle, standing there with Shivaloy Majumdar, Melissa Lantsman from the Conservative Party. Anthony Housefather from the Liberal Party after the vote, and they denouncing what Canada had just done. So is this causing a challenge within the Liberal Party? And I'm going to just add one more thing on top of that. If you are someone who has put forward a certain, political philosophy or ideology, progressive or whatever the case may be, if you are saying Israel has the right to exist, Israel has the right to defend itself, somehow you are betraying your original cause. We're seeing something like that happen with the owner of Canada Land, Jesse Brown, where he has just come forward and said, Israel has a right to defend itself. All sorts of people are jumping on this guy. So I'm just wondering, in that context, what is the mindset?
Well, that is, those two are connected. So Jesse Brown, the publisher of Canada Land, it is probably one of the most left-wing, recognized left-wing media platforms in the country. And then you got Justin Trudeau, who is being kept alive by the NDP. These are two guys on the left who, for quite some time have been not exactly seen as conservatives, and they're not even satisfying Team Hamas. There's a revolution, almost quite literally, within Canada Land, where they issued this communique. We should show it to people. It's extraordinary, where they condemn their own publisher. If I were him, I would just shut the whole operation down and start over again without the stupid Canada Land Union. But, also Trudeau, he votes for a ceasefire this week, and he's still being targeted by protests and criticisms and so on. The point I would make to the progressive side of the spectrum, and all of us know lots of progressives, and there's some good folks there, you're not satisfying them. This group, you cannot satisfy them. They actually want, as Brian said, revolution. They're not just after Israel. They attacked our Christmas tree lighting in New York City, for Christ's sakes. These guys want to topple the whole shebang. And the sooner people like Trudeau and perhaps Jesse Brown recognize that, the better off they'll be.
Last word to you, Brian. No appeasement on with respect to these individuals who, I don't even know if they know what the Intifada even means. I mean, I see those women that scream for it, and I just think, do you know what would happen to you if an intifada? It's like when I see, Queers for Palestine. Do you know what they would do to you? Try that there. Anyway, last word to you.
I think a lot of them are driven by tribalism and team jerseys. And, I keep seeing comments saying, well, we should deport all these people, send them back to where they came from. A lot of them come from Canada. This is just become a progressive tribal thing, where, well, if I'm a good progressive, I have to believe that because Palestinians are oppressed and Israel is the oppressor, that Israel must be destroyed. And, I've got to back Palestinians even when it's Hamas committing terrorist acts. It is a weird belief system that has infected our politics, and I don't think it's healthy for anyone.
Well, let us know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and go to theTorontoSun.com. You're going to find commentary and coverage on stories like this and others you will not find anywhere else.